I'm Kendall.
And I'm Bree.
And I'm the guest, Simon.
And this is When the Lights...
You gotta say it with me. Goes out.
Goes out, yeah.
No! Together.
I thought you were going to be like goes and I say out and then split it.
Okay, wait.
Together.
One more time. And this is When the Lights...
Goes out.
Alright, I got it this time. One more time.
Okay.
From the top.
And this is When the Lights...
Goes out.
There we go. That was better. Oh my god. Fourth time.
Time's a charm.
Look,
I'll cut out the
affection.
third one. The other two were cute. That was cute. That was funny. I'm dead. Wow. Well, wait, what are you gonna say?
I was like, maybe we should put like a little, at some point, like, what do they call it? Like, bloopers.
Oh, yeah. Bree did talk about that. Putting in bloopers. We should do that.
Yeah, like at the end of the year.
Yeah, we're definitely going to do that. We have our Patreon getting built by me. I'm working on it, so I'm excited. Yeah, let's definitely put in bloopers. Some point, let's do some silly, video shit. And just mess around and just have fun with it. Deal. I love that. Oh, and just so you guys know, I had mentioned this last episode, but just wanted to give you guys a brief reminder. It's our 30th episode.
Woo!
And this is technically our season, well, I deemed it our season finale, so... Woo! We plan on coming back, I guess, quote unquote, with our season 2 on May 5th. So that's I think Friday, May 5th, if I'm not mistaken.
Y'all ain't ready. I'm just saying.
Yeah, we're excited. We have some cool stuff coming up, and we're going to be doing some, I don't know, we're going to try to do different things outside the box and just have fun with the show. Build the community in the show, too, and all of that. So I'm excited for that. I was going to say something else. It just lost my train of thought. I don't know. It'll come back to me. But yeah, so that's that. We want to make this episode really special, so I really want to have Simon on the episode because I was like, we all love Simon.
I'm honored. Honestly.
Yeah, I had to work. I feel like me and Bree had to work together to get Simon a good day to just record with us. It took a minute, but we got to it. That's why we're late.
I just want to thank my family and, a higher power, whatever it may be, for giving me this opportunity to be here.
You're too much. Podcast. Oh my gosh. Yes, of course.
No, honestly, it's great to be here. And I'm really proud of both Kendall and Bree for what they did with this podcast.
Yeah.
It's really been amazing to watch it grow.
What a great feeling that it's just damn, we did this shit. That's just an amazing feeling.
You did this shit.
Oh yeah, I did. I did do this shit. Yeah.
It started with an idea and you guys were like, fuck it.
I was just let's go hit the car. I can't speak.
Hit the ground running.
Thank you. That's what I meant to say.
And I think a lot of people do that, but not a lot of people do it well, guys. So
yeah, I agree. Ooh, thank you.
I might be biased, but I'm just saying.
No. He's not biased. He's right.
No, I'm right. Subscribe.
Well, I had always so I always do this thing where I put down a couple of talking points in my notes before we start the show, and just so I don't forget kind of funny things. One of them I had to just talk about is how Bree just has mayo in her purse. I just had to say that real quick because that was just really funny. But
I keep that motherfucking thing on. You never know when you need a mayo packet, man. Dry ass burger, mayo
That's
packet.
so true though. I should start doing that. I don't know if I could just carry around in my pocket, but I'm just I need to carry around mayos, guys. I think about it and I'm I have a burger that I buy from Wendy's and I'm that shit is dry.
Listen, and I have everyone makes fun of my purse because it's really small and they wonder how I can fit so much in it. But listen, man.
Oh, you are good at that.
Make the magic happen. I fit so much in that purse. Mayo packets included.
What's crazy to me is that I've seen her try to pull out cards from her purse and it's impossible. So I don't understand how this mayo packet I don't understand all her credit cards don't have mayo on them. And the funny part of the story is Kendall thought I was yelling at Bree because I was like, what are you doing? What's in there? We're just trying to eat our dinner. And she pulls out a mail pack. He's like, what's wrong in there?
Yeah, I started laughing and he was like, Brie, are you crying? Like,
I really thought she was crying. She was laughing. Damn.
My laugh does sound like a cry. I
do worry. Really, I'm like, oh my god, that was so quick. She was so happy a minute ago. I was like, oh my god.
My laugh is very heavy.
I love it. Sis is Hermione with her purse. I love it. Speaking of...
I prefer to be the bitch from Halloween Town, the grandma with her purse.
Oh, Maggie Cromwell. I remember her name.
Rest
That's
in
my
peace.
purse, babe.
Oh my god.
That's my purse, babe.
Speaking of
Maggie
Hogwarts, though, we
Cromwell.
were just talking about how we're the Hogwarts-os and how, at least I'm a Hogwarts-o. No, we're talking about our, what is it, our, like, different houses, and I think we would all be Slytherins, for sure.
I've been told that a lot of times.
Oh, yeah. Like, I'd definitely be a Slytherin.
I don't know what that means, though.
No, it means that we're bad bitches. That's all it means.
Hey!
That's all you need to worry about.
Hey!
We're just talking about how we'd be in, like, we'd be in our, like, little, like, what are their little segregated houses or whatever, and we'd be shaking our ass, being off body and shit.
Bippity boppity boo, bitch.
Hey! Abdacadabra.
We be down in the dungeons, you know, like just doing what we doing.
Oh, ooh. In the dungeons with that
If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
Like, I'm a snake.
Goodbye.
Slippery little snake.
Oh my god, this couple, I love them. No, I would definitely be acting a fool at Hogwarts.
We know.
I'd be all around Hogwarts, I'm telling you.
No. I would expect nothing less.
I think that also led into us. We were also talking about how I think I had seen something about them trying to like redo like this Hogwarts television show, which I cannot do that.
Now that I think about it, what they're actually going to do, from what I understand, is the game they just came out with.
Oh, is it going to be based on that?
Yeah, it's going to be based on the game.
See, okay, I'm okay with that. I don't want another, like, retell of, like, Harry Potter. Like, I love Harry Potter, but, like, we already heard it. And
it's done, and it's done
well,
to
I think.
perfection. Like it is what it is.
People are, like, mad because they left out, like, what they think are, like, important things from the books. But I'm like, I don't know.
It's very minuscule
It's said and
things.
done now.
Overall,
and
it's very
movies.
minuscule things.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think, in my opinion, that's a problem I'm having with, like, a lot of movies in that genre.
Yeah.
Is we're just rehashing the same thing. It's like, I don't even want to see it.
No, that's fair.
I don't even want to see it for the most part. It's like, let me get something new, something different.
Something underneath. I definitely agree.
Who is this character in this universe that I grew up loving? This is something different.
Guys, I said it time and time again. I love movies so much. Specifically horror movies, but I love movies. It'll be so cool if I just started a horror movie podcast. That would be amazing. Sometime down the road, though. That sounds fun. Anywho.
Better subscribe then. You know?
No, but seriously though. Oh my gosh.
Stick around.
Stick around, please. So we are we're almost at 10 minutes, so I don't want to waste too much time. We can start getting into our little story for today. It's a
spooky one.
It's a spooky one.
I have no idea what's going on.
I didn't.
This is going to be a surprise for me, just like you guys. So,
if you guys are listening, you can obviously see what the title is of it. But Simon doesn't know right now. I didn't want to tell him because I was like, maybe he doesn't know, and if he doesn't, I kind of want to see what he thinks about this case because it's a good one. I think, in my opinion. So, cough cough. So a lot of the research that I did for this episode specifically was from an author. His name is Dr. Edgar Epperly, and he has done tons of research for the Villisca Axe Murders, which very big case. Have you heard of it? I can see,
but go on.
Okay.
I think so.
I feel like if I go on, like something will.
Is
click.
this okay? I don't want to just guess and then ruin it all, but I think is this the one where it's at that farm? I think.
Yeah, so you're already there.
Yeah,
you're already there.
I know this.
Okay,
one.
you do. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Damn, he always knows these stories. Okay, well, anywho, I have done a lot of my research from actually a book that I have read for this case, and it's called Fiend Incarnate, the Villisca Axe Murders of 1912. Edgar Epperly had written a lot of articles on the topic. He spoke on radio shows and on court TV, which I don't know what that is, but sounds important. And in relation to the case alone, he had also done a lot of just research that led him to write this book. And it was published in 2021, so pretty recently. Yeah, super
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and it's pretty interesting that someone dedicates that much of their time to like one case. Oh my god, I couldn't.
I mean, you see that with like journalists sometimes and stuff.
Yeah,
like, they really get into it. They can't.
Yeah, it's crazy how much. Yeah, I agree. And so this tale is a very somber story, told in many different ways. And many, even today, deem it to be the worst homicide in Iowa history. And I could probably agree. It's a pretty gruesome one.
It's gnarly.
It's gnarly. Yeah. And right before we get into the actual story, I just wanted to give a brief warning that this case does involve children's murders. And it is really hard telling children's murders anytime you tell a story. I have trouble sometimes even researching it and like seeing pictures. Oh, it's just a lot. But this case is just, it's fascinating beyond compare in the sense that it's just really, it's dark, but it's interesting. So let's see if Bree might have heard of it.
I think I have.
I feel like you had to. There's no way you haven't.
I don't want to guess, but I think I know what it is.
Okay. Well, as we go on, I feel like they'll click. All right. So let me first paint you all a picture. In the early 1900s, Iowa was dedicated to the Union cause during the Civil War, and the Democratic Party, being more north, at the time continuously clashed with the South, and especially with Iowa itself. According to the book Fiend, Incarnate, Villisca farmers thought themselves Republican owners and managers, not Democratic workers, even though their clothes were as sweat-stained as any factory labor all around. Prohibition was gaining strength nationally at the time. So Villisca, Iowa in 1910s was a very small town, about no more than like 2,500 people, so not a lot of people.
No, it's tiny.
Very tiny, where a lot, if not most residents owned 2-story homes and a barn or maybe a couple extra acres of land for farming. This was often just enough space for some cattle or horses, so nothing huge or anything. A lot of homes looked pretty similar to one another, white houses. It was one of those small towns where everyone knew everyone. I mean, of course, with 2,500 people, you would think you probably don't get around a lot.
I mean, for the most part, whoever your mechanic is everyone's mechanic.
Everyone's a mechanic, literally that. Which
it's all connected.
Interesting point, because that is kind of a bigger point later on in the case, that you usually have one person to do one thing. Well, sometimes, competitors come into play and
things happen.
Things might happen. So, anywho, where had I left off? Sorry, guys. Okay, so yeah, in general, small town. Everyone knows everyone. There were a lot of small churches clustered in one central area of the town. And there were a couple like schoolhouses or secondary schools for the kiddies up down the street. And like most cases are told, it was told to be a town where people felt safe and where nothing bad could ever happen.
That's like the start of every bad story. It's like, oh my God, it's so sweet here. Everyone knows. There's the church. And then,
everything's just so nice. It's just so clean. There's no one here. Yeah.
That's a recipe for disaster.
Snaps out. Yeah. So, and where this story eventually takes us is to the house that sits on 508 East 2nd Street, Villisca, Iowa. But instead, we are going to start this story 30 feet west of their home, right next door, with a woman named Mary Peckman. On a brisk, foggy summer's morning on June 11th, 1912, Mary Peckman had woken up bright and early around 5 a.m., which could not do that, that morning to start her daily chores. She woke up, got dressed, and began cleaning her and her husband's laundry outside. While stirring the dirty garments in the hot bucket of water, she started to get a weird feeling that something had seemed off about her morning. Generally around the same time when Mary would begin her day, so were her neighbors. Those neighbors were known to be very friendly people and were always up before the sun would come up, and they would hit the ground running and just start their chores right away. This family was known to be the Moore family. In this household was Josiah and Sarah Moore, along with their 4 children, Herman, who was 11, Catherine, who was 10, Boyd, who was 7, and Paul, who was 5. Every morning, like clockwork, the children would get up and gather the eggs, tend to the horses, they would milk the cow, and then they would sell the milk to bordering towns around Villisca. Although this morning was different. As Mary kept glancing over at the Moore's house, she noticed that the home was completely pitch black with no sign of the Moore kids tending to the chores. With growing suspicion after an hour or so had passed, Mary decides to pat her hands dry from wringing out the laundry and creeps over to the eerily tranquil home. She looks over to the back of the home, to the side where the barn was kind of sitting, and she is just seeing how, like, the horses are still tied up, the chickens hadn't been let out, and the cows were still also in the cattle together. So nothing happened to like she had supposed. So she walks up to the home, and she tries peeking into the window facing west, so directly facing her house, but she doesn't see anything past tightly drawn curtains. So she walks around to the front door and finds that it's locked. So next, Mary decides maybe they overslept. I mean, it makes sense.
Only human.
Which, quick note, I couldn't think about the fact that my neighbors could be in that kind of, like, predicament where I'm like, something's going on, like, is something wrong? Because I feel like in my neighborhood, like, my neighbors, I feel like, are always having their curtains drawn, and I feel like I do too, so, like, I kind of get that. I don't know.
Like, if they didn't, you'd be like, what's going on?
I would never know. I would never know. It wouldn't brush past me, so I'm like, Mary, you on top of it. Josiah owned a hardware store up the road. That Josiah's the father, by the way. And he was very dedicated to opening up the shop every single morning, and especially on a Monday morning. Always woke up, was always on time, always there. Well, because Mary could not enter the home or figure out what was going on, she goes back into the barn, unties the horses, and lets the chickens out. With growing concern, Mary decides to give Josiah's brother, Ross, a call to see if the family had been maybe left for the night or something for some reason. But to his knowledge, they were all supposed to be home. Even Ross's wife, Jessie, had assured Mary that they had no idea why the house would be so dark and silent at that time of day. So now, with a worried brother, Ross now is wondering what the fuck is going on. Not a direct quote, but, you know, I'm sure you can imagine.
Like, he knows his brother.
He knows his brother.
Yeah, what's going on? This dude's...
I'd be worried too.
Yeah.
I mean, if I knew my family got up like clockwork and I'm like, something's going on, like, I want to know, obviously.
Well, being in a family business, if I didn't show up,
oh my God,
he
yeah.
would be like,
oh shit, like,
what is going on?
What is going on?
Even their customers would.
Yeah, no, seriously. So now a worried brother, Ross is wondering, of course, what's going on. So he dials Josiah's job. Josiah, remember, works at the hardware store. Mm-hmm. And he sees if he had maybe came in earlier for some reason. Why wasn't he, at home? What's going on? So when Ross had dialed, the store's clerk had answered. His name is Ed Sully. So he answered, and to Ross's surprise, his brother never came in that morning. And it seemed even stranger that he had no prior notice. Again, it wasn't normal. He wasn't one to miss his shift, so what the fuck is going on here? So Ross decides to investigate for himself, and he heads to the home. All the while, Mary, the neighbor, directly contacts Josiah's employee, Ed, and tells him, do you mind closing the store temporarily to help me feed the animals and tend to some of the chores until Ross can make it over to the Moore house? Ed decided to say yeah, and he came over around 7 a.m., partially helping. He didn't really do a ton, but he helped a little bit. And until Ross had pulled up around 8:15 a.m. So Ross converses with Mary and Ed to ask more questions, and then he attempts to peek through any of the windows around the house, but every single shade had been tightly drawn. So instead, Ross takes out his set of skeleton keys, to which one does end up unlocking the door of the west parlor door, and he enters the home. Excuse me. When he opens the door, the inside of the home appeared to be pitch black. I probably wouldn't go any further.
Yeah, no, this wraps.
I'm done.
I wouldn't even got it, to be honest.
Oh,
Get the fuck out of there.
No,
I'm getting like heaps just, ugh. Okay, anywho. It was even stranger because not only was every curtain drawn, but someone had purposely hanged a dark cover over the front glass door so no one could look inside.
Spooky.
Yeah, like, ugh.
Wow.
So, now making room for some light to come in from the door that Ross had just entered through, his eyes started to adjust a little. He headed for the first room closest to him, to which the door had been closed but not locked. As his eyes started to focus more and more in this bedroom, he sees two figures laying side to side on the bed covered by a sheet. Not noticing from afar, but nervously creeped closer, he had realized that the two figures had a black cloth covering their heads. A couple steps closer, and Ross started to realize that the cloth over the two figures wasn't just a black cloth. The cloth, along with the pillows and bedding under them, were completely soaked in blood.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. I'm not gonna lie, guys. Completely terrified by what he had just saw, Ross shakingly stumbled out of the home, completely dazed and in shock from what he had just seen. Don't blame him. Immediately, he tells Mary and Ed, who had been waiting outside, to find help. So Ed literally sprints to the Villisca town hall a couple miles away. So that man, I can even run 1 mile without like losing my breath. Can you imagine what that's like?
I mean, and under that kind of
Pressure,
like
I couldn't imagine.
I might run a
that.
marathon or something.
Oh my god! And like, keep in mind, it's like the early 1900s. So like, I mean, it wasn't like that easy to just hop in your
Ford.
Just hop there and just go.
Hop in your Honda Civic.
And
go down the street,
and I don't even think Ed had a car. So like, he walked the whole way when he came and stuff. He wasn't far from the hardware store and from everything, but he was a couple blocks. He was a couple miles. So, so yeah, and there was that. So I could only imagine. I'd be freaking out myself.
Yeah.
Oh my god, you don't have a telephone that's just newly available to just pick that up. So Ed goes on foot. He sprints to the Villisca town hall a couple miles away, where he sees Marshall Henry Hank Horton and blurts out, that's a mouthful, he's a marshal, sorry. Marshall Henry Hank is his nickname, Horton. Sorry, I should have explained that at first. You're like, whoa, that's a name.
All right.
So he sees this Marshall and he blurts out, "You're needed at Joe Moore's house right now." So the two, shortly after making it to the White House on 508 East 2nd Street, also were met with Josiah's other brother, Mary Moore. Or sorry, not Mary, Harry Moore. I don't know why I said that. I think it's because I was the same Mary. So Harry had also been notified by Ross, and they had all just pulled up. There, all three were met with Mary and Ross, who had been waiting over at Mary's house. Don't blame them. It's probably like really freaky over there at the other house. Wouldn't want to do it. So when Marshall Horton asks, "What's the trouble, Ross?" Ross replies, "I'm afraid something awful happened, and I want you to go in and see." So Marshall Horton reluctantly creeps into the home, bringing Ed along with him, which I think is a pretty safe precaution because I wouldn't want to go into a house where someone's like,
where you just may have, like, you saw two, no.
Yeah.
If not the whole squad's coming.
Yeah.
We're not taking chances out here.
I don't know. He would not catch me. I need to turn the lights on immediately.
Damn, that's why we're called when the lights go out. No. That was a cheesy joke.
I'll grab the Red Bull real quick.
We got like
go ahead.
night lights and stuff though, right?
Oh, trust me, we would definitely need
I have
lights
night
for
lights.
this.
Yeah.
Flashlights.
Wait,
and
do you really?
everything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I have
can't.
night lights. They're mainly for the cat, but for the cats, because I come home late, but
Oh shit. No,
I
I
also
couldn't do
leave
it.
them for when I come home late.
So Marshall Horton and Ed head into the north bedroom on the first floor where Ross had also earlier scoped out. Inside the room, they see nothing but darkness in front of them. And unfortunately, around this time, electricity just wasn't super well known, especially in farming areas like this. So I mean, I think this family just specifically used a lot of lanterns and candles and things like that. They did use a lot of like lighting kind of things, so I think that's another reason why it was so dark in the house at the time.
I mean, you said this was like
early 1900s,
yeah,
like
I
19.
mean,
yeah,
the fact that the guy had to run the town hall, not the police station. You know, kind of gives it away. Like,
and just like putting myself in this whole situation is just like, I would be so stressed out. Like, imagine being a marshal of a town where nothing ever happens, and then this just happens, and you're like, what the fuck do I do?
What can you do?
Shit, I wasn't trained on this.
I wasn't trained. Literally, they literally at the time weren't trained on this stuff. Like,
there's probably so many murders back then, just like
that just went on,
just like nobody knows about because like stab someone and you just fuck off.
Oh, and
like,
spoiler alert.
An hour the other way and you're free.
Spoiler alert for this one. This is Unsolved. I don't know if everyone knows that, but unfortunately this does go unsolved. Yeah. Ooh, this case gives me the shiver. Oh my god. It's one of those cases that will stick with you for I feel like a minute because it's just like it's something about people like either forcibly entering your house or already being in your house that's just so freaking creepy to me that and
in this manner you kind of like in this day and age you're like, how do they not solve this? Like, how is this still unsolved?
And it's still we'll get there. So like I said, when they get inside the room they see nothing but darkness in front of them, and unfortunately around this time, like I said, electricity wasn't a thing. Sorry, that was still in my notes. So the marshal had lit a match and walks in further through the dim light. He sees on the bed the form of the two bodies covered in by a bed sheet, only unveiling both of their heads that have been covered by a bloody cloth. Marshal Horton removes the bloody cloths, revealing what looked to be two young girls that were bludgeoned to death. Horrendously bludgeoned to... okay. So instantly hit with shock, understandably, the marshal had ran to the window to let in more light and sees that the two small girls had been so badly bludgeoned that they had no recognizable facial features. Jeez. It was that bad. They both had been beyond mutilated. At the foot of the bed sat an oil lamp, and right across from the foot of the bed, sitting up against the wall, stood a large single-bitted axe. Oh my god, the way you guys are looking at me.
It's just, even though I know the story, it's like,
it's
how
still
can you not
so
be speechless?
I get like,
so messed up.
I'm getting like a little like lump in my throat just like reading it because it's just like so heavy, and I'm like, damn.
Like if you really think about it, like, and I don't even want to be honest.
It's
like,
horrendous,
Think about it. And that's the thing with these stories. It's like, you know, we hear them all the time and all that kind of stuff. There's so many movies,
especially when you go in depth with them.
But like when you really
hear
think like another human being, like
doing this to two girls, like oh my god, young girls, yeah,
it's terrible.
Oh my gosh, so. Of course, I would have too. Ed Selly had gotten super ill from the sight of this, and don't blame him.
Yeah.
So he went back outside and waited for the marshal to come back out, and Marshall had continued to walk through. The next place to check was the second floor. The stairwell to the second floor was narrow and very dark like the rest of the house, and Marshall Horton had been so frantic from just seeing those two girls, and he was just so terrified that he was kind of struggling to focus on striking more matches. But he managed to, and eventually he reached to the top, and that led to another bedroom. This time, it was the homeowner's bedroom of Josiah and Sarah Moore. This is also very, very brutal. Upon entering the bedroom and finding the blinds to draw them open, Morton had found Joe and Sarah, and sorry, I call him Joe because that's shorter. Josiah Joe, went by both. Mm-hmm. He found Joe and Sarah lying lifeless in their bed. Like the first two victims on the first floor, the two had their faces covered with discarded clothing or cloth. Although insane to even comprehend, these two had been hacked way worse than like the first two had. It had been done with vengeance, I'm telling you guys.
The covering of the face is pretty interesting too.
That's something, and then there's another piece to something being covered up, which I don't want to like, kind of want to bury the lead on that, but
yeah,
we'll talk
kind of
about
wait.
that.
Like,
We'll talk. Oh,
Yeah,
we
I mean,
oh my god.
story.
Yeah, maybe I can wait, but like
Yeah.
I wanna.
It's so interesting though. Like why? Yeah. Okay. So
what I think, I guess.
Oh yeah. No, I want to hear
Later.
it.
Later when you unveil the other thing.
The other thing. So their heads were also terribly hacked so badly that there were barely heads there. It was literally that bad. Just fragments of bloody bone and flesh laying in the bed. And the blood had been sprayed all throughout the room. It was very vicious.
Scary.
Morton, who at this point is probably shitting himself, I know I would, gained the ability to keep going in hopes to find that the 4 children may have been shown mercy.
Gee, that's why he's the marshal.
Yeah, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do it. But unfortunately, Morton's worry would become reality. All 4 of the Moore children had been hacked to death. Again, whoever this killer had been had placed an article of clothing over their heads, covering what was truly more terrifying. Catherine, the 10-year-old, was lying dead on the couch in the southwest corner of the room. Herman, who was 11, had been found dead face down on his stomach on a cot in the northeast corner of the room. And both Boyd, who was 7, and Paul, who was 5, had shared the corner bed where they had both lied, also brutally murdered. Later to the corner would suggest that the blows to the kids' heads had been the easiest for the killer because their skulls were unfortunately still maturing, so their skulls were more caved in with less blows, if that makes sense, than Sarah and
softer.
Josiah. So softer skulls, so it didn't take a lot. Oh, which is so scary to think about, so I'll move on. But like I said, in that case, hopefully they didn't suffer too long. Oh, hey girl. She said what? What's she doing over there?
Petting her belly. What were you petting?
Side note, Bree's cat's today. It's a full moon tonight, and Bree's cats have been on something.
They like flip personalities. I think it's Freaky Friday or something.
It is. It's like literally, I'm telling you guys.
Bunny, my angel, is like being bad tonight, and then Boo, my
That's
devil,
so
is being
weird.
good.
Bunny is always so quiet. She was ripping the bats off of Bree's walls, and I was like, no, please. It was in our old little pod closet.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, that was a nice little icebreaker. That was a nice little icebreaker. That was a nice little what's the word?
Caveat?
Yeah.
Break up the scary.
Break up the scary in this episode. Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't blame myself.
Thank you, Bun, for interrupting.
Thank you, Bun, for interrupting and giving us this nice little palate cleanser.
It
See,
just
that's
brings
what I like.
us down to earth.
That's what I like
back.
Bunny and cats for, because they truly are like such a
Nice, yeah.
like a nice ground, like something to ground yourself when you're like.
Seriously, because I'm reading the story myself and I'm shaking in my boots and I'm like, oh god.
It's like
If you're at home listening, I'm sorry if this is so scary.
his eyes were cut off, her ears were cut. Meow, and you're right back there.
Ears right back there.
Yeah,
I love
that's
it.
fine.
It's like a deep breath, you know.
All right, don't hate me. I'm gonna pull you guys back in. You can't go anywhere. Sorry.
We're still here.
All right.
Hanging out on my hat.
So where were we? Okay, so yeah, hopefully the children. Okay, we're there. We're moving on. Okay, so from here, Ross could recount seeing the marshal exiting the house. He was so pale and shaken that he struggled to let out his next words, which were, quote, "My God, Russ, there's somebody murdered in every bed," unquote. Side note, you may be wondering who the 2 girls were that were found in the house on the first floor. That we'll get to, I promise. But yeah, they did have 4 children. They didn't have 2 more. So
I was
I'll
going to
explain
ask,
all
because
that.
when you said about all these
Yeah.
children in the upstairs bedroom, I was like, wait, the math ain't math.
I'm also kind of, the math ain't math.
Yeah, like, it's going
I'm
on.
also kind of, I'm burying the lead on that too, but I'll get there, I promise. So like I said, no Midwestern town had ever prepared to see the day an entire family would be all murdered in the middle of the night like that. It was unheard of, but only within hours, this town would catch word, bringing everyone into massive hysteria. Understandably, many that were nearby the Moors had remained scared and horrified, which I don't blame you. Imagine your fucking neighbor getting butchered, their whole family getting butchered. But not necessarily the whole town had so much empathy. Prior to the nosy residents and outsiders making their move to the home of where these people had been murdered, local doctors had the opportunity to come examine the bodies and crime scene. But not much time was given before a stampede of random people and locals had come snooping around. One of the first doctors that initially came to investigate the scene was a man named Dr. Clark Copper. Dr. Copper was able to come to the house. He lifted the bodies and let them fall to test the state of rigor mortis. This test alone showed Dr. Copper that the estimation of the victim's murder had been around 8 to 9 hours before the family had been found, which would mean that the family had been killed around midnight that night before. It was also evident to Dr. Copper and Marshall Horton that the killer really went out of their way to make sure that there were no onlookers by covering up every single window of the home. But not only, but the killer strangely did a poor job of attempting to clean up their tracks. And I'll get to what they found in a minute around the house. Oh, actually, I'll get to that now. Sorry, that's my next note. So, for instance, there was a basin found filled with murky, bloody water in the kitchen, indicating that the killer tried to possibly rinse off their hands before leaving. And under the downstairs bed in the bedroom, they have found a bloody union suit that was stashed under the bed, and it was found that was used to clean the axe, even though the axe was found still with copious amounts of flesh, blood, and hair attached to it. And on top of this, there have been some very bizarre findings around the house in addition. So this one I didn't put in my notes, but I did remember this just off the top of my head. Well, first I'll say this. The dresser mirror in the first floor bedroom was covered by a dark cloth, which we were kind of getting to that at first. One of the mirrors, or at least two of the mirrors, one upstairs and one downstairs, were covered by a cloth, which is weird. Why would a killer put a towel or a cloth over a mirror so that's weird. I don't know.
And that also like a superstition.
So no, it could be, but my theory is just that he didn't want to see his reflection when he was doing it. He didn't want to see the aftermath of what they looked like.
Woof.
After
there's that, but it is actually a superstition that brings the dead back. Mirrors.
He would be haunted for the rest of his fucking life by that family.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But that's only if there's two mirrors across from each other. It's like a portal.
That is true, yeah. Wow. So that would make sense. Maybe the person was superstitious. The other thing too was he did this to the faces too. So maybe was that in conjoined to the reason why he maybe put maybe I'm getting ahead. Maybe I should finish this story.
Yeah, there's theories.
Yeah, okay. We're in deep too. Oof, okay. So that would all happen. So there was that. And oddly, in the same room, they found a 3-pound slab of bacon.
Oh. Just
chilling against the wall next to the axe. Yeah, just chilling. And apparently, in addition with that, which this part I didn't put in my notes, but they did find that the man, or whoever had done this, literally ate their food before he had walked out. They had found bloody prints walking out of the house. So this man literally, I don't know if he ate with them. I don't know, but
he killed them and then had a bacon, egg, and cheese.
It's crazy. But the thing is, why was the bacon in the room?
You would think.
Did he go back to the room to finish? What?
Must have worked up an appetite.
That's so bizarre.
Then ate something and then dipped.
And it's just weird though, because it's we'll get to this.
Wait, was the bacon on the first floor or the second floor?
First floor. It was found on the first floor in the bedroom when they first found the axe. So it was closest near the axe.
Yeah, that's weird.
And it's just what?
It was cooked or uncooked?
It was cooked.
I mean, that's crazy.
Actually, wait, I even say the last part. They have found a larger part of the bacon, I guess. Okay, this is my thing. It said bacon, but I'm wondering if it meant ham. Because the reason I say that is because they said they found a bigger piece of the bacon from an larger piece in a kitchen pantry. So
maybe it's just like what they would cut the bacon out of, like
maybe
big
okay
meat or something.
Because 3 pounds of cooked bacon
that's
would be
like
a lot of bacon.
Of it.
Yeah.
Like that's not, but bacon's not like a slab, you know, like you can't cook a slab of
That's
bacon.
what I was thinking.
Yeah. Maybe it is ham.
Like so maybe it's ham and they just add bacon.
It might be ham, yeah.
Okay. Let us know, Idaho residents. Is that a thing? Do you guys call it bacon?
Yeah,
hey, that was in the
Idaho.
book. Yeah, I don't know. That was weird. But I think it was probably ham or something. But yeah, and that's just weird. Like, why the...
I mean, it's still weird as hell.
But we saw that was in one of our older cases in Richard Ramirez, where he had decided to eat before he had eventually left the house. And it's just like, it's not a cocky thing. Do you think he could get away with it? Is that why? So we can get more to that at the end, but I'll keep going. So one note to also make is Marshall Horton found underwear belonging to a female under the first floor bedroom, which he immediately deemed sexual assault. Now, after checking, it did appear that one of the girls had, and I think it was the older one of the two, who had their underwear removed. But Dr. Copper had inspected and deemed that there had been no evidence of sexual assault or rape, which isn't that the coroner's kind of job, but that's just me. I don't know. Now, Dr. Copper wasn't really worried about all of this, though Dr. Copper was more anxious to be the first to spread the news about the murders. And I kid you not, this guy's an asshole. So, sorry, Dr. Copper is not the one. He's not the one to help us here. I'm sorry, I'm laughing because it's like really fucked up. It's not because it's funny. I'm sorry. But you guys know what really drives me crazy about this case? And it's part of the reason why this case was never solved in the first place. Immediately the moment that onlookers and just people of the town had come to the house, they just invaded the house and contaminated the whole entire scene.
Dude.
The entire crime scene. No one was there to tie this crime scene down. Of this whole entire family and their friends that had been murdered.
House, yeah.
Like, I just can't fathom how that would just sweep by so easily. But yeah, this happens. You can't make this shit up.
The killer could have been there.
The killer could... I was just going to say that. The killer could have been there the whole time. We wouldn't have known. Were they that cocky? Who knows? But that comes into play with things you figure out about a little later. So I'm going to keep going again. But... again, I think I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. I'm getting all excited. Oh my god. So, for one, Marshall Horton had... wait, where was I? Fuck. In addition to this, too, for one, Marshall Horton, before the scene was contaminated by others, he senselessly picked up the axe and brought it upstairs with him. Why? I don't know. And I kid you not, the marshal picked up the axe and just took it. The crime scene, so...
they're handling it so poorly.
They handled this case very badly. So, they also really fucked up the measurements of the killer's swing, which doesn't seem like a huge swing, but I guess at point view, I guess it could be really helpful. When the murderer descended the axe into each victim, the force of the swing was so powerful that the murderer struck the ceiling, leaving lines of plaster in the beds and on the floor. But they never looked into this precise measurement, and they only just guessed about maybe he did it this way or maybe he did it that way.
I get it was a long time ago, but
this could have helped hone in on who could have done it. Now, the only thing I can say is that from a synopsis, they concluded that the murderer was left-handed. So when I get to the suspects, maybe that makes sense, but I feel like they could have still did a little more if they put the work into it, and they didn't have everybody and their mother walk into this house. And mind you, the bodies are still there by this time. Like, people are walking through this house, and people are these people are still there, like, lifeless and butchered.
So disrespectful.
It's just like, how do you do that? Like, I don't care what... oh my god.
At that time, though, they were into a lot of weird shit because they didn't have any, like, entertainment.
Oh, yeah, they didn't.
Well, yeah, wasn't there, like, a lot of, like...
So,
there's a lot of, like, hanging, like, public hangings.
Or, like,
oh, yeah, that's so
mummy,
true.
Yeah.
like, mummy...
And people would go...
and stuff.
Yeah.
They have those, like... I've heard about these, too. They have these scenes called... I don't know if these were here in America, but I know they were a thing in Europe where they had... morgue museums or something. So you could actually go to like these museums and just look at walk around and just look at people in morgue. It's like,
oh yeah, no, they had
just
that,
have them sitting out,
and then they'd have also like, once somebody died, they'd take like a picture of them like they were alive, like proper.
Yeah, that creeps something about that.
And they're just like,
oh no,
you know, like it's messed up.
Ooh, no, it's so creepy. So, although what I found more interesting was that Marshall Horton suggested that the killer returned to to Josiah and Sarah's room twice. Sarah's house shoes were left by her bed, and one had been filled with just blood inside of it, tons of blood inside of it, but it was dried. It was more dried than what he had found on the sole of the foot. So it was turned upside down, and the blood on the bottom of the sole was more fresh. So he was pretty much just saying that it seemed that the killer had maybe struck them and maybe thought she was dead, and then he had her maybe gasping or something, and then he came back to finish her off, or he never left the room. Ugh, again, it gives me chills to no end. Dr. Copper really did nothing good for this case, like I had said. So at some point, he just ended up leaving. But beforehand, he went upstairs and literally just gave Joe and Sarah a courtesy glance. And basically just said, yeah, they're axed. And then just looked at the kids and said, yeah.
Them too.
They were dead a while ago.
Oh my god.
Yeah, literally, that's all he said, and just decided to leave. Ultimately, it took Dr. Copper only 15 minutes to examine this house. And he eagerly just needed to tell the crowd, after he had come out the house, boys, my God, don't come in here. You'll regret it in the longest day you'll ever live. And that was when the entire group of people just decided to filter throughout the house.
Never say less.
And treated it like a goddamn tourist attraction. Yeah. But like Bree had said, it was it doesn't say it's right, but it was the early 1900s. People were bored out their minds. Yeah. According to official witnesses, it suggested that there were at least 100 people that had walked through this house. 100 fucking people. 45 minutes to an hour later, around noon, a second doctor arrived, and this was Dr. Frank S. Williams. We can rely on him a little better, which is good. Dr. Williams had arrived post-contaminated scene, but he still did help to solve a couple more details about the murders. The two females in the first-level bathroom weren't deemed sexually assaulted from him, either from the older or the younger of the two girls. But it did seem that one of the older girl of the two, it seemed that she had maybe struggled or squirmed a little prior to her bludgeoning. She had a couple drops of blood on her inner thigh, and she had a couple bruises too that may have implied that she was possibly waking up or something right when that happens. So 2 Bibles had been laying on a nearby dresser that helped unveil who these 2 girls were. Because of their names have been engraved inside the Bible, so they figured out that way. These girls were sisters, 12-year-old Lena and 8-year-old Ina Stillinger. Mm. These 2 girls were sisters, and they were the daughters of a local farmer, Joe Stillinger. After another inspection of Mr. Moore's room, Dr. Williams also found that the 2 indeed suffered the worst, and it appeared that the murderer had also scooped brain matter from Josiah's head after being beaten to a pulp.
Oh my God.
But what Dr. Williams didn't also know was at the time, right before he had got there, the integrity of the scene had been messed up, which he knew that, but he didn't know that someone had taken a piece of Josiah's skull for a keepsake.
Oh,
what the fuck?
God.
Someone literally took a piece of his skull for a keepsake. I kid you not.
That's sick.
I hope Josiah hunted that guy down until the end of the earth, because what the hell?
That's sick. I understand being interested, but Jesus.
Oh my God, yeah. So while this madness had been happening at the Moore's home, a little earlier that morning around 10 a.m., the parents of Lena and Ina Stillinger were getting very worried about where their daughters were. They had actually no idea that they were staying at the Moore's house that night.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Mr. and Mrs. Sillinger had planned for their 2 daughters to attend church in town that Sunday, stay the night over their grandmother's home that night, and then walk home the next morning with their school teacher. Unfortunately for the 2 girls, their granny had been very ill that day, so instead they decided to spend the afternoon with the Moore children. And they convinced Josiah and Sarah Moore to spend the night at their house. That's when, yeah, it's just like bad timing, really bad timing. That's when that next morning, the school teacher scrambled to figure out where the girls were. She tried ringing the Moores' home because the girls were best friends with Catherine Moore. As it rang, the town's operator answered, informing her, quote, "They're all dead over there," unquote.
No sugarcoating.
No sugarcoating it at all.
Jesus.
Oh, so it's truly insane how quick the word had spread that one day, because this is all in one day, of discovering these murders. Eventually, more and more distant and close relatives of the Moores would be messaged about the deaths and to come down to the home for further information. But it only hurt more because by the time they had come to the house, they just watching a circus show of people just coming and rampaging around this house. Order was finally set in place at some point, which is nice, by County Sheriff, I think it's O.E. Jackson. And he arrived and wanted to really focus on finding the son of a bitch that had done this to this group of people. Throughout the day, mobs formed and searched for any leads to help police trail to who had done this, but nothing was found. Other groups formed to discuss theories, but mostly kind of just had told rumors about what was going on and who had done it, which really just befuddled the whole entire investigation, if anything. Ross Moore at Lenders and a close friend of theirs by the name of AJ had actually had such loss that they went to a psychic in Red Oak named Auntie Hamilton. They got a little information out of her based on these murders and what happened here. But I guess depending who you tell, it could or could have been helpful. So using murky coffee grounds to foretell, I guess, the fortune, which is kind of reminding me of Harry Potter again. She had said that there was a local Villisca citizen that had killed the family and friends, which, okay. But she had also told them that it was expected that the bloodhounds would fail to find the killer, but they would come close to it, which ironically didn't seem too far from the truth. So not too long after this, bloodhounds were given the scent from wiping the cloth of the cloth that killer had used, or the union
wipe themselves down.
Yeah. So they did use that, and the 2 bloodhounds, police, and a coroner, and a small mob had moved west along a road north of the Moore's house. Eventually, where the scent had stopped was at the 3-story mansion of a man named Frank Jones.
See?
So let's get into the suspects. There's 2. So I found mostly all this from All That's Interesting, and I thought this was really interesting just to tell. I don't want to go too much into depth with it, because it can go on forever. It's such a big case. But the first suspect was Frank Jones. So Frank Jones was a local businessman who had been in a competition with Josiah Moore for years. Josiah Moore had worked for Jones for 7 years at a farm in equipment sales and business and stuff like that. But eventually he had started his own business, which was a hardware store. So like he had said, kind of, I think towards the beginning, he had competition, which is kind of a thing in a small town. You have competition. That could be bad.
It's like 1v1 me, you know?
Yeah, it's like every man for himself. Yeah, so people all over the town knew these 2 did not exactly get along in the best way. There was also a rumor, some tea here, that Josiah was having an affair with the Joneses' daughter-in-law. Though reports were not concrete about this evidence, but if that's true, then, oh my God, Josiah, the father, was having an affair with I don't know. That's crazy. So maybe I don't know.
Come on, Josiah.
I don't. Yeah.
Get it together, buddy.
So the townspeople insisted that Frank had been behind this. They insisted the Moores and the Joneses did not like each other and they harbored a deep hatred for each other. Though no one had really gone the length to really deem in on Frank Jones and his family. So unfortunately, it's just kind of, we don't know about that. But it seems like a very strong suspect.
I mean, it's speculation. But
it gives reason for cause, but it doesn't. Unfortunately, they didn't have the material to be like, we can't convict you of anything. It's really hard back then, I would imagine, right?
So, I mean, there's no proof.
There's no proof. It was just hearsay, and people were just saying, I think it was him, because they had this feud between families, and there's all this chaos and gossip around it.
There's so many feuds, there's so many competition, but, that doesn't mean you're going to axe a whole family.
Yeah.
And
a lot of people are saying, why would, this one man who had maybe a little competition for a hardware store go out his way to kill... He was obviously
still doing well for
himself. He had a 3-story mansion, so why would he do this? And then, go on to butcher his entire family, and not even his entire family, other kids that were staying there. That's just so bizarre.
A lot of unsolved mysteries, it all comes down to pointing fingers.
Pointing fingers, yeah. I was gonna say it's all pointing fingers, but it's still interesting though, because why were the bloodhounds drawn to that spot?
Yeah, so that is really sketchy.
That's really sketchy, and the fortune teller said that beforehand. So isn't that that just gives me chills?
Yeah.
But that's really chilling.
Coincidence, that's for sure.
But
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, please go on.
I was gonna say there's always things like that, and I don't know if you guys heard that story about the experts from Florida.
Yeah,
it went through the neighbor's yard, right?
Yeah.
But
I'm not gonna sleep tonight.
If someone's observing that, or someone knows there's that feud, you could easily just walk through that kind of property, leave that evidence, leave the remnants, and then just go about your way.
Yeah, that's true.
It's almost quote unquote the perfect crime. You're passing on that.
Damn.
blame.
And I think today, how would you get away? You couldn't get away with that.
Oh no.
There's so many fucking cameras in this world now.
Everybody got a Ring doorbell.
But you on CCTV,
girl,
or at least on a Ring doorbell.
No,
or
seriously.
someone's making a TikTok, dancing.
Yeah, everyone's everywhere
in the
now.
back,
It reminds me of the TikTok murders when people. Oh, we're gonna talk about that case at some point. You have to be here for that. It's a really good one.
Is that?
It's about the kids that found a bag using an app from TikTok. It took them. Yeah.
I haven't heard this one, so
it's so creepy.
I gotta hear this.
Oh my god! But we're going on. I'm sorry. We're getting off course. I have one more suspect, and this suspect is also pretty compelling. So this suspect's name is Lynn George Jacqueline Kelly. Now, Lynn was an English immigrant. He had a history of sexual deviancy and mental health problems. He even admitted to being in town the night of the Villisca Axe Murders, and admitted that he had left early that morning. Though his small stature and meek personality led to some doubt and involvement, there were certain factors police had believed made him maybe the perfect candidate for this. So Kelly was left-handed, so there's that, which police determined from the blood spatters, that he was also left-handed. He also had a history with the Moore family.
Gee, why?
I know. Many had seen him watching the family at church in and about town. So this was leading up to their murders.
Observing them?
Observing them.
That's creepy, because you really have to be staring for people to notice.
Yeah.
You have
oh my god, okay. And he reportedly asked police for access to the home after the crime while posing as a Scotland Yard officer.
So he's lying.
Oh, he crazy.
Oh my god.
That's out of pocket.
I'm
that's crazy.
Okay, yeah.
Scotland Yard in Iowa.
Yeah. I'm from Scotland Yard.
I didn't even think about that.
You didn't think about that? How far it is?
Yeah.
This dude's
that just gives me the heaves.
Across the pond.
Ooh, I don't like it.
Idaho now.
I don't like it.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I don't like this guy, Lynn.
He's very strong as a suspect. And at one point, after a long interrogation, he eventually signed a confession detailing the crime. However, immediately recanted it. And the jury refused to indict him.
Oh my god.
Whoever this murderer was, years and years and years had gone into attempt to solve this case, and many investigators had used the scene of the home to still collect any evidence that people may have missed, such as the attic. An investigator later on had suggested that whoever killed this family may have been living in the house the entire time. I know Bree had I don't know if this was already in this episode or this was beforehand, but I think he had said something about how this killer may have been living in the home the entire time, which is why a lot of the, oh my god. And what led to reason to believe about this was because there wasn't bloody footprints, but there were footprints that were bigger than the anyone's in the home that were found in the attic. Scary as fuck. So does that mean someone the whole time, maybe before, and I didn't say this before, but that night when the family wasn't home. The family was coming back from church, from a service, I think it was something like that, or an event. They were coming home that night. And that's when they had the two girls with them because they're hanging out with Catherine, and they came home. So there's a good chance that the killer could have been home the entire time. On the top of that, and I didn't put these in my notes either, but they had also found out that the keys were never found to the house. So that means, in addition, that the killer had taken the keys, but they never found where the keys went.
That might also give a little clarity on the food thing. If
the
someone
food
was
thing.
living there, like
someone had been living there, possibly.
You know?
Oh my god!
They would feel comfortable making the ham or the bacon because they had been living there.
They've been doing it for a while.
Yeah.
And so didn't they also like finish up some chores or some crazy?
Yeah,
stuff like that?
Like they actually did a little bit of the chores around the house. Yeah, they did a little bit of some of the chores around the house too, which. It seemed like they cleaned a little at least. That's what it said. Yeah. So that all of this just gives me like the worst anxiety, the worst anxiety ever. I personally have this huge phobia of someone living in my house and not knowing it. I think that is just very, I don't know, something about someone living in your house unknowingly. And I don't know if you heard about that one case about, they made it into a show. I think it was Ryan Murphy who made it into a show called The Watcher. He heard about that?
I mean, that's an actual story.
Yeah, it is an actual story, yeah.
You guys ever seen that one movie? God, what's it called? It's like one of my favorite horror movies of all time. It's by a Japanese director, I believe.
Are you talking about James Wan at MS?
Are you talking about like the one that everyone was talking about? It's a one word. It's one word.
Yeah, like there's this dude hiding in the house. It's a crazy movie.
What the fuck? It's the.
Oh, you talking about The Boy?
Right?
No, not that.
No. The Boy is funny. Parasite.
Oh,
if you guys have not watched Parasite, it is.
Oh my god, I forgot about that movie.
Freaking incredible.
Yeah, this gives
I've
Parasite
watched it 3 times and I loved it every time.
This case gives me like Parasite vibes, but like
it kind of really is like based on that. You know, I'm not gonna say anything else in case you guys haven't watched, but
no, it's a good movie. If you guys haven't watched it, you've had like 5-6 years to watch it. Go watch it.
It's still incredible.
It's great. It's great. Go watch it. But that's not all, because I have a couple ghosts to talk about. So I had done a little more digging because I had some time on my hands, and if you guys don't know, today the Villisca Axe Murder House is currently still there, and everything is still in the same place. The only thing that's different is that the murder scenes were cleaned up.
I would hope so.
Yeah. So if that doesn't give you chills, I don't know what does. But I had done just some watching of like different episodes of like Buzzfeed. I think Shane and Ryan had done a Buzzfeed episode on this case at the Villisca house, and they actually stayed there overnight. And on top of the already creepy story, they added that after the murders, there was a caretaker of the home named Johnny Hauser. He had been upstairs one night in the house alone, and he had later said, quote, "I'm up in the kids' room, and I locked the kitchen door, so nobody could walk in. And as I'm up there, somebody walks into the house."
Scary.
He initially thought this was someone trespassing, so he wanted to give him a little scare. And so he hid in the children's closet, which I think is still creepy. But he hid in the children's closet and waited until the footsteps led up until the room that he was in. And then he jumped out to scare them. And when he did, there was no one there.
Scary.
Nope.
After checking the entire house, no one had been there.
Scary.
Or so he thought. Oof. God. I picked a great night for this. Oh my God. Okay. And so during another episode, during that episode specifically, they were doing like an EVP session, and they got sounds of girls screaming, which horrendously terrifying. And I also got a recording of a man saying, quote, "hard to stop," which
scary.
Also very creepy. Like, hard to stop. What the fuck does that mean? Like, ugh, I don't know. I don't want to know. And so they had also did a little flashlight trick to see if the kids could like turn off the flashlights or whatever, and it actually worked. It was kind of beaming, which is also creepy to me. In a paranormal investigation that I watched with paranormal investigator Dave Charter, they had talked about how he also caught a EVP of a girl screaming and crying, and he played it. It's so clear. It's so fucking creepy and chilling.
I'm not even sure I want to hear it.
I don't suggest you guys looking it up.
That sounds disturbing.
No, don't. It's really gut-wrenching and it's really scary.
The crazy thing about those things is, like, if you watch, like, if you're a big Buzzfeed Unsolved fans, like, we are, like, a lot of the times, like, you can call these machines and devices that use BS, but a lot of times they don't do anything.
Yeah.
No,
and to hear something clear like
should
that...
Should we, at some point...
That's spooky.
Should we, like... No, I'm not going to do that. No.
We going to that Northville and
No. No, God. No, God. Oh, I couldn't even imagine. No, I'm so fucking chicken. I couldn't. No. But I kind of want to go to the Villisca house. I don't, like, during the day. Like, I would want to go and see it.
I'd go during the day.
Maybe you should make a cute... I keep saying that. We should make a cute trip and make it happen. Let's pick one. Let's pick a house, go to it, have a cute little road trip.
For now at night, I like this little table, though. This is fine.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm not going anywhere. I'm good. No, I'm good. Going. But yeah, guys, that is the case of the Villisca Axe Murders, and I hope I did okay on that case. There's so much outward stuff, because there's so many different moving parts. That's the thing about this case. There's so many different people that got involved in this case that did not need to get involved. First of all, the fucking 100 different people that decided to raid this house.
Dr. Copper.
Yeah. Fucker. Like, who does that? Who just goes into a room and you're like, well, they're dead. Yeah.
And it's such an intense, disturbing case.
It's a very disturbing case. I'm sorry, guys, if that got a little much, but...
Like, even if it was solved, it would still be like...
oh my God.
You know, like, it's akin to, you know...
Something about even knowing who the murderer is, it just gives me more creepy vibes. Because it's like, who does this to children? Not unless anyone, but like children, like, these are little kids.
And they just went on living their lives after.
Yeah, it goes on to 5 years old, and they just did this to innocent people. Like, and no matter what if Josiah did have an affair or something, that doesn't give anyone the right to kill somebody, guys. Like, oh my God. It's brutal.
Not even close.
Brutal case. But that takes us to the end of that. This is, I think, probably one of our longest episodes, which I kind of wanted to make it special for our 30th birthday. No, it's not. We passed our age. Well, thank you for being here, Simon. It's been a pleasure.
No, thank you for having me. I'm really proud of what you guys have done.
Yeah, no, thank you.
To be part of this episode.
Yeah. Bree, you better treat him right. Oh my God.
Stop.
I do, I promise.
No, I know you do.
I got a backup plan here, apparently.
You better keep your hands off my man.
I would never.
Wink, wink.
Oh my God.
What do you mean you would never?
Tee-hee? No.
I'm kidding.
I get it. Oh my God, real quick before we go, a little anecdote to leave you guys off on. I said that right?
Yeah.
Anecdote. Today I posted a picture. I don't know if you guys know, but the Barbie movie is coming out, right?
Yeah, I saw the picture.
Did you guys see the picture? Okay.
I did.
I haven't been on Instagram.
I saw
Wait, I'll show you real quick. Wait, I'll show her. Anyways.
It was appropriate.
It was so appropriate. It was so funny. Okay, wait, look.
You're hilarious. With the all today, you're so funny for that.
Yeah, so I posted a picture, and it's like an auto-generated picture of I guess at the time, if you go on to the Barbie movie like official fan like page or whatever, they have a template where you can go on, put your own picture on it, and you can be like a cute little Barbie from the movie or whatever. And I did that for me, and you can put a little saying above you. And what did I just say? I don't even know what I said anymore. Oh, I said, "This Ken is not about to play with y'all today," which I thought was just so funny. I'm a cute one.
I mean, looking at the trailer, I think you might have been better than.
Why was it in this movie?
Who was it in there?
There's like half the cast of Sex Education's in it.
What's his name though?
Oh, I like that show.
The black guy from Sex Education?
Who's Ken in that?
Oh fuck! Oh there's a lot of different Kens, but the main one, Ryan Gosling. Yeah,
he just looks weird.
He's like aging. I mean, he's still. I mean, if he was like Kendall,
I'd
be like,
when
hey.
I saw the Ellen DeGeneres
oh yeah,
that was funny.
That was really funny.
Because it was
It'll be an interesting movie. Sorry guys, I had to bring it up that way. That was really funny. It's more funny if you guys had seen it, but unfortunately, it's cool. Just remember to go onto our Instagram, follow us on there at WTLGO Podcast. Make sure to send us any of your lovely stories that you might have or anything like that. And addition to that, make sure to follow us wherever you're listening to us. Please tell everyone about us. We will be back, and we attempt to be back on
May 5th.
May 5th, thank you. Yeah. So, mark your calendars for that. In the meantime, we're going to do some work in the background and just make the show better. Let's get brilliant with this shit and just go off.
Woo!
Woo!
That's the energy we like.
That's the energy we need.
Yes.
Hell yeah. All right, y'all. So, take it easy, stay safe out there, and with that, we will see you next. We got this? When the light
goes out.
Hell yeah! Woo!
Episode 30.
Woo! Yeah!